Dear family and friends, I listed the coming events in my previous video on the Great Apostasy and the Pope. Today, I want to focus on the rise and fall of the Antichrist. So let me just review the points from the Bible about what we can expect between now and the end of things. First of all, there's going to be wars and rumors of wars, natural disasters. There'll be a great apostasy where even the elect could be lost, if that were possible, Jesus says. There's the illumination of conscience. There's the persecution of the church. There's signs in the sun, moon, and stars. There's the triumph of the church. There's the prophet of the Antichrist. We find in Revelations what was spoken of about Benjamin Netanyahu, I will relate. The rise and death of the Antichrist. Babylon, what is Babylon? And the period of peace. And then after the period of peace, the final battle between Christ and Satan, which we find in Revelations 20:7-10. And then the final everlasting peace on earth, and of course, glory for the saints in heaven. So from Revelation 13 through 19, we find references to natural disasters, systems, the rise of the beast, and the prophet of the beast. The beast and the prophet of the beast we consider are the Antichrist and the prophet of the Antichrist. Babylon is a worldwide system that can be summarized as hedonistic materialism. The bride of Christ is the church. The way events, systems, and individuals are presented in the book of Revelations is not linear. The same material is presented over and over and in different ways so that we do not see necessarily a series of prophesied events, but for the most part, a single event with many kind of predictions about the events. There is an underlying linear direction, of course. Sin in the world, natural disasters, persecution of the church, rise of the Antichrist and his prophet, triumph of the church, destruction of the Antichrist and his prophet, a period of peace, Satan's release and final eternal binding, and the everlasting peace on earth. Also, some events refer to Earth's future and some to God's people's future in heaven. Before we get to the details of the book of Revelation and other related scriptures, I would like to begin with something about Benjamin Netanyahu. Here's a quote from an online newspaper in Israel. It said, about 30 years ago, the late Lubavitcher Rabbi Menachem Schneerson, told a young Netanyahu that he, Benjamin Netanyahu, will be Israel's prime minister, who will pass the scepter on to the Messiah. The Lubavitch Rebbe said this during an election in the 1990s, before Netanyahu's first term in office. Today, Israel is in a kind of apocalyptic mood. Bibi, that is Benjamin Netanyahu, is prime minister, and the scepter is in his hands. Will Netanyahu and the nations of the world welcome the Messiah? Because of world events, I wanted to cover the Antichrist in this video. Netanyahu has shown a great lack of compassion in his recent months, but he may not be the prophet of the Antichrist. But the Israeli prophet has predicted that he would be the last prime minister of Israel and pass the leadership on to the Antichrist. Something for us to keep in mind in terms of time frame. This prophet could be mistaken, but I think it's good for us to keep this in mind. So here's what Scripture says about the Antichrist. He will be accepted by Israel as the Messiah, as Jesus noted. I have come in my Father's name, and you do not receive me. If someone comes in his own name, him you will receive. He will be revealed as the son of the man of sin, as noted in the second letter of Paul to the Thessalonians, chapter 2, verse 3. He will lead many astray, even the elect, if that were possible. He will lead Israel into battle and win. And we have this in Daniel 8:23 and another passage from Daniel 11. So let me just read those passages because I think they are very pertinent to our time. So this is what Daniel writes in chapter 8. And at the latter end of their rule, when the transgressors have reached their full measure, a king of bold countenance, one who understands riddles, shall arise. His power shall be great, and he shall cause fearful destruction, and shall succeed in what he does, and destroy mighty men and the people of the saints. By his cunning he shall make deceit prosper under his hand, and in his own mind he shall magnify himself. Without warning he shall destroy many, and he shall even rise up against the Prince of Peace, Jesus. But by no human hand he shall be broken. And then we read in chapter 11, starting at verse 36. And the king shall do according to his will. He shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak astonishing things against the God of gods. He shall prosper till the indignation is accomplished, which is determined, shall be done. He shall magnify himself above all. He shall honor the God of fortresses. He shall honor with gold and silver, with precious stones and costly gifts. He shall deal with the strongest fortresses, and by the help of a foreign god. Those who acknowledge him, he shall magnify with honor. He shall make them rulers over many, and shall divide the land for a price. At that time, the king of the south shall attack, possibly Egypt or some countries in Arabia. They will attack him. But the king of the north, Russia possibly, shall rush upon him like a whirlwind, with chariots and horsemen, with many ships, and he shall come into the country and shall overflow and pass through. He, possibly Putin, shall come into the glorious land, and tens of thousands shall fall, but these shall be delivered out of their hands. Edom and Moab and the main parts of the Amorites. He, the Antichrist, shall stretch out his hand against the countries, and he and the land of Egypt shall not escape. He shall become ruler of the treasures of gold and silver, and the precious things of earth. And the Libyans and the Ethiopians shall follow in his train. But tidings from the east and the north, possibly a renewed Russia, Iran, and China. This could be a second war. Shall alarm him, and he shall go forth with great fury to exterminate and utterly destroy many. And he shall pitch his palatial tents between the sea and the glorious holy mountain. Yet he shall come to his end with none to help him. In the book of Revelations, there are a number of passages running from Revelation 17 to 19 that we need to consider. First of all, Babylon and the horror of Babylon. As mentioned earlier, this is about hedonistic materialism of the world. A strange thing we will find in these passages is that the beast and the prophet of the beast hate this Babylon, the hedonistic materialism. The reason is that they want the whole world to be totally beholding to the Antichrist. They want all control, and they don't want people to have material freedom. So the passages show that they will undermine and destroy the hedonistic materialism that dominates our time. This, as it turns out, is God's plan anyway. In the period of peace, economics will be directed to the good of man and the care of the earth, and not on maximizing profits. So Antichrist, in a sense, is going to destroy the world economic system, but a new economic system will rise that is respectful of the environment, but most of all has human beings, persons, as its focus and goal. As noted at some of these scriptures, the Antichrist will be destroyed by God. As noted, some of these scriptures, the Antichrist will be destroyed by God. And some have said it will simply by his breath being taken away. As it says in Daniel, but no human hand will he be broken, and he shall come to his end with none to help him. Once he has shown his hand in leading Israel to victory over the forces of the north and east, Russia and Iran, I think initially, it will be obvious to Christians who he is. His reign will require endurance of believers who know his time is limited, maybe 3.5 years. His second war, I believe, will be primarily with China. After this, end will come. And in the next video, I will take some time with what happens after that. And also, obviously, Russia is not going to come to Israel, except that it's already at war with Europe. So we can look to Russia venturing further into Europe over the next few years. So the timeline of these events is pretty near. Okay, so that's what I'm going to say end with for today. I'll come back with another video. I thought it was going to be 4, but it looks like it's going to be more than that. And besides this one, there's one that I'm posting with this on the apostasy and how we regard the Pope. So praise be Jesus Christ. We'll talk to you all again.